Happy Wisdom Wednesday, everyone. So book of the week this week is another sales book specifically on messaging, and it's called Conversations That Win the Complex Sale, subtitle, Using Power Messaging to Create More Opportunities, Differentiate Your Solutions, and Close More Deals by Erik Peterson and Tim Riesterer. So when I first started in my position as Director of Growth over Potrero Medical over a year and a half ago, our CEO Joe Urban and I were working on our branding and more specifically the messaging with our team because we had to do a big rebrand, and he constantly referenced this book until one day he came up to me about a quarter in and said, "Hey, did you finally read that book yet?" In which case I said, "Hey, I broke my own rule, which is paying attention to the things that leaders tell you to read." So I went and bought the book and read it last year. Fantastic book. And I want to walk you through in a little framework here that I think every single salesperson needs to understand. More importantly, every marketer should understand when it comes to positioning your company. So first, we're going to start with this Venn diagram here. So, of course, we have our prospect, right? That's who we make our messaging for. I'm going to put the book down just for a second. And then we have you. Now, regardless of what you do, you're going to have a product where obviously it's going to have some overlap with the need of a customer, right? So that's where you should focus. However, you're always going to have competitors, no matter what. Even if there's no other products or services, you're competing with the current standard of what the customer is used to doing, right? So that creates a little area of overlap between you, the competition, and your customer called the value parity, right? That's not something that you want to compete on, because at that point, you're purely competing on features and benefits, and then you commoditize yourself and your brand. You don't want to do that. What you want to do is focus over here, where you have the overlap between you and your customer only and none with your competitor. And that's where your value wedge is. So why is that important? If we take our value wedge, we do this thing that's called triangulation, and that's where you start building your power position and your messaging. So if you look at that triangle in terms of what it faces, up here, you face something that's important to your customer and prospect, something that they actually need that solves a problem that they have. What faces you, this side of the triangle, that's what's purely unique to you. Nobody in the world does that. It could be the speed of the product, the cost of it, hopefully not cost, but that might be it. The great customer service, something that only you deliver on. And then this side, which is what keeps you posted against and wedged between you and your customers and the competition, is what's defensible against the competition. So now that you have identified something like this, what do you do with it? Well, that's where you start focusing on your messaging pyramid. Now, a lot of companies, a lot of sales teams, they don't necessarily have something like this. And it's usually discussed, but you don't really draw it out. So when you have those power positions and you do triangulations, let's say you have three of them, three things that you've identified. You start focusing on the is first. That's the foundation, which is what everybody needs to know, the features and benefits of the product, what makes it different than anything else. Then you focus on what it does and how it works. That's where your message uniqueness comes in, and that's where the power positioning essentially is deployed, because that's where you start stacking up your power position triangles, or your value wedges, right? And with that, every salesperson does a good job here, does a great job here in terms of what it is and what it does. What separates great salespeople from the average ones is up here, which is, what does it mean? This is where the true value is created, because at that point, you've understood your customer in terms of what's important to them and what they need to solve a problem. And more importantly, you build up a story and message that fits a worldview to deliver the value that they actually need in terms of how it solves a problem for them. You don't want them to do the work for themselves in their head. You have to guide them along in the story. So that's the book of the week. Again, definitely recommend it, not only for sales team, but specifically for marketers, so you understand the framework of storytelling. We always talk about storytelling and marketing, but very few people can actually sit down and draw out an outline or framework in terms of how that works and what a message hierarchy should be. So do this. It'll make it a lot easier for your sales team and your sales leadership. Get the book, and as always, happy Wisdom Wednesday, and I'll see you next week.